Hey everybody. Today in my chronic migraine life, we're going to sort of teeter on to last week's episode. Last week I talked about the tools of my trade. Basically, all the things that I carry with me and even some of the things I use at home to combat my life with chronic illness, chronic migraine specifically, of course. And today I entitled this episode Be Not Afraid because I wanted to talk about the emotional side of leaving one's comfort zone when you live a life with a chronic illness that can spring up at any moment, and of course, already when you're dealing with the constant pain. Now, having the proper tools, as it were, are important with you. I always feel comfort with a plan, and knowing what I would do in case XYZ happened. And because XYZ continued to happen through my life, just by trial and error, I found the things that work for me. That eases my mind. Now, I do a lot of things alone. I always have been a very independent person. My chronic illness tried to take that from me. And there were moments when I gave into it. Physically is one thing. When you can't do something, if you're just too physically ill to do it, you can't do it. And that was something I really had to learn with. It's frustrating. It still happens to me at moments, and it pisses me off. You know, everybody always just says, oh, just relax, just rest. Two things. When you tell someone to relax, automatically you can't relax because it's just inevitable. And second is rest. So when you have chronic migraines or a chronic illness, rest tends to do nothing. My pain comes with me wherever I go. Sure, the other things that come with having a neurological disorder, the dizziness, the pain, the lightheadedness, the things that power through your body is what actually stops me or in my tracks from doing the things that I would do. Of course, I always try to push it even though I know better, but it's just something I do. Excuse me. And even when I lay down, my head is still going to be feels like a house is just crushing in my skull. I will still feel that. The reason I lay down is because eventually I can't hold my head up any longer, or I feel too dizzy, or I'm going to throw up, or I'm just weak. It's not because, I'm going to lay down and my head's going to be better. Pills, no pills, doesn't matter. You're out for the count. And I know people don't understand this enough, and it's a lesson that took me a long time to learn about giving into the pain, when eventually you just have to give into your body. Your body is telling you to stop for a reason, and you have to give into it. And I know people don't like to hear that, like, but she has things to do, or other things. Like, everybody has something to do. But you have to give into it. It's just a part of being with chronic illness. Or you're going to push your body past the point of recovery, and really, who wins? It doesn't mean it's not devastating. I remember, I guess the height of my illness was really, I'm going to say 2011 to 2014 were the worst years of my life. And, something as simple as changing my sheets. I was trying to change my sheets for God knows how long, days. And my mother finally did them for me. And I walked into my room and burst into hysterical crying. She did a nice thing, I know that. But the thought of the defeat, that I couldn't even do this, that she had to do it for me, was frustrating and upsetting and putting right in my face what I already knew. My chronic illness was changing everyday aspects of my life, whether I liked it or not. And you have to come to peace with that. The other thing you have to come to peace with is how your life outside of the little circle that you live in your home when you're dealing with an attack. Now, I know everybody's chronic illnesses are different, so of course I'm only speaking for myself and my illness. When this migraine patient leaves the house, I left the house a lot during those 3-4 year period of the height of my illness. I never wanted to leave in one way at all, and then of course the normal healthy self of me wanted to go out and do things and live, but the other part is terror. It's just terror. And because I'm an independent person, people think that means that you're not afraid because you're just doing it. Like, I went to Amsterdam and Paris solo in 2016. I had a friend that was going to come with me. She backed out because her mom gave her some stuff about the recent terror attacks in Paris the year before. Again, I can't live my life in fear. I'll never leave the house. And at that point, I was just so healthy and happy that I was able to finally start functioning again. Traveling is one of my favorite things to do in this world. And there was no way I was going to sit back. Was I hesitant, afraid? Of course. And there are moments. But I use something that Elizabeth Gilbert, the author, I read once in her book, Book Magic. It says you just take the fear with you. And that really helps me because I use that all of the time in my mind. Like, doing it, the act of doing something isn't the lack of fear, right? It's the act of courage. And when you have chronic illness, it's courageous to do anything outside of what you think your daily ability is. I live in New York City, so I love the theater. And in 2011, I had gotten tickets to Hugh Jackman's one-man show. I think it was 2011. And it was a New Year's Day show. Maybe it was 2012 because it was the New Year. And like I said, I was swirling down the drain. I had a brand new camera, and I was driving myself to the city, which is about an hour from my house. I was parking right next to the theater. I knew where I was going to eat right there. I knew I had to fuel myself. But I was terrified. More terrified than I let on the outside, certainly. And I just had to keep telling myself, we're just going to do this, we're just going to do this. Times Square, for those of you that don't know, is right near Rockefeller Center. It's a walking distance at least, maybe about 10 blocks. And I wanted to go there after the show to take some pictures. When I got to Rockefeller Center, I was overwhelmed by the crowds. Not in a surprising way, but in a, oh my fucking God, what am I doing here? It had started to drizzle. I didn't really know how to use the camera properly because I couldn't read the book. And I just had to keep talking myself through every step. You'll take pictures if they come out, they don't come out, whatever. But it's in those moments when you're in the middle of doing something like, what the fuck was I thinking? I knew this was a bad idea. That you have to stop. Because I find a lot of self-shaming happens in these moments for me. I always want to berate myself and either, in my mind, cancel plans that haven't been made yet. Like, you'll never be able to do this. I don't know why you do these things, but and then I go, why did you even think you could leave the house? You're struggling in the house. Why would you leave? Because you have to live. If you don't live on the days that you can, even when they're not 100%, what is the point of any of it? And so I really, in that moment, wanted to crawl on the floor and cry. I was by myself, and you know, it's a cliche, but you want your mommy. And I don't know that I wanted her specifically. I just wanted to be anyone else, anywhere else, and inside of that sick body. And the show was fine. I really didn't even get sick that day. But it's the fear, it's the panic. It's sometimes almost as much debilitating, if not more so, than the actual pain of your life. It's unpleasant to talk about, but I'm going to talk about it anyway because that's what we do here. I have a lot of stomach issues. I would say about half of that is from my actual migraine disease. Maybe another 20 to 30% is because of what the pills I've taken have done to my digestive tract. And the remaining percent, not a math whiz, so I have no idea what's left, is because I have severe GERD, acid reflux, and gastritis. So what that means is that you have an unpredictability about how your stomach will behave. And that is really comforting and, of course, not embarrassing or anything like that. I have gotten sick with my stomach issues all over the world. Actually, predominantly in the U.S. I don't know what that means. I have been sick in people's bathrooms that I barely knew. I have been sick when somebody was waiting for me outside. Nothing relaxes your stomach, right? More than the pressure of, like, I have to get out of here. People are going to start talking or noticing, right? You never want to, for as invisible as your illness is on the outside most of the time, when your behavior starts to act up when you're out, you want that to be invisible as well. Irony. I've been in the bathroom too long, or I have to keep going back and making excuses. Everybody's having pleasant conversation, and are they noticing the pain in my face, that I'm getting red because I'm getting nervous, or I'm in pain, or something's going to happen? Donna, you're not eating. Donna, what's the matter? Like, you're being quiet. You look red. You okay? You okay? And it's interesting when you get asked that question in the moment when you're trying to go through all the things in your head, like, am I gonna? No, I'm not gonna be sick. I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be okay. That you don't want that question, right? The rest of your life, when you're dying on the couch or wherever, nobody notices. You're like, hello, over here, trying not to die. And I've had a variety of experiences. They anger me, they frustrate me, they continue to happen. And I just try to get through the moment because you're in so much pain and just feel so sick. And I mean, God, I've pulled over. I've had to go to the bathroom and McDonald's. And this is the other thing with having a plan is I always have to know where the bathroom is. Half of that is from my mother. I always put that in my head. Mental reasons, I have no idea. She's always afraid she's going to have to pee and not have a bathroom. Sorry, Mom, I'm sharing this with the world. And the other part is my reality. Broadway shows. I mean, every inconvenient place you can think of, that's where my stomach decides to act up. I find that talking myself through it is the only way I can get through it. Like, even if I'm home and alone, and you would think, okay, so what? You're going to be sick? You're going to be sick. At least you're home. The pain and the anxiety that it brings, especially if you're trying to get ready for something, is just so high that I have to take it minute by minute. And I've, over the years, gotten really good at talking myself through moments of anxiety and pain because I've had so many of them between my head and my stomach. And so even with all this practice, in the moment, I have to fight the urge. You know, I just keep telling myself I'm okay, it's going to be okay. And then I try to list to myself the reasons why it is okay. So what? You're not going to see the rest of the movie that you paid $15 to go in, and the person that you're with is in the movie theater by themselves going, what the fuck happened to Donna? That's why Jesus made Netflix, right? So what if you don't get to go to the stage door after a Broadway show? You won't meet the actor that you've paid all this money to see. So what? There'll have to be a next time, right? So what if you have to miss somebody's communion or Sweet 16 because you were getting ready and like a normal person and didn't know you were about to be violently ill and then became too violently ill to actually leave the bathroom? They'll be disappointed. Hopefully there'll be other occasions, but it is what it is. It's not that you won't be disappointed. It's that you have to acknowledge that berating yourself for something you have no control over doesn't help. It's not helpful. It doesn't mean you don't get to be sad. It doesn't mean you don't get to be frustrated. It doesn't mean you won't go to more lengths next time. It means in this moment you have to surrender. And surrender, I guess, is part of the plan when you're leaving your house. When I drive by myself, and even in those scary years, I always knew that if I felt too sick, I had to pull over. I always made sure I had medicine with me. Of course, if you saw last week's episode, that I could easily accessible to me in the car, whether that I had to pull over or whatever it is. That's why I also always have a beverage and a snack. On the Hugh Jackman day, my stomach was always extra messy in those years. I went to Junior's restaurant. They're known for their cheesecake and their big burgers. I've gotten sick in Junior's more times than I can think about it. Not on that day, though. So I ordered the most boring, plain, dead grilled chicken cutlet I could eat on a piece of dead roll. It wasn't disgusting, but it wasn't what I wanted. But I forced it down because it was dry and it was relatively safe to eat, and it would coat my stomach. Forget having coffee or, iced coffee on a nice hot summer day if you're tempting fate. To this day, I still practice these rules. I went to the New Kids on the Block concert last weekend. I wanted iced coffee desperately, but I was afraid of my stomach. The fear of missing out while you're there, I think I talked about in episode 3, while you're actually participating in what you want to do, is still there. It's not as heightened because I know that if I'm going to miss out on something I have no control over it, I have to just go with it, but try to think for the best. Everybody's always like, just be positive, don't think about it. When you're chronically ill, you can't not think about it. It's the same way you plan. Every moment of your life is affected by it. And when you've had so many experiences, when you're like, well, I've never gotten sick X, Y, and Z, so it might not happen now. But when you've hit all of those other criterias, you've done all those things, it's a possibility for you more than anybody else. And so for me, it helps to think about it. What would happen if I got sick here? There's 100 bathrooms. Would I miss the concert? Yes. Would I be fucking pissed? Yes. But it might just happen. I got lucky. I did okay that day. It's just what it is. Preparing yourself mentally before you even set foot outside the house, alone especially, is important. For those of you who take a lot of medications as I used to, I always kept a list of what those medications were on me in case I needed help, emergency help, and I wasn't there to explain and communicate for myself what I was on. And I always made sure that my mother, my brother, the people that were around me the most, the people that I did the most things with, had that same list. It's also important that you have, I would say, at least 2 or 3 people contacts in your phone. And next to their name, write ICE, ICE. It stands for in case of emergency. And, next to mine, it's 1, 2, 3. Who you would want them to call in case of an emergency. Now, I know no one wants to think to that extreme, and the things I'm talking about today aren't that extreme, but again, in case of emergency, you have to have a plan. And I know a lot of people now, a lot of first responders or whatever, EMTs and stuff, will look through your phone if they can't find, a contact person's name in your wallet, which who does that anymore? So I think that that's helpful. And when you're going out alone, if you're going someplace new, I like to map out the entire area, not just bathrooms. I like to know where I'm driving to. I like to pay the extra money if I'm driving to park because I don't want to have to walk far. I just like to feel like everything is close by and in control, even when it's not. But the same rules apply for when you're going out with somebody. Now, if you're going out on a date or something with somebody new, at this point in my life, there are no secrets. Pause, please. I would be honest and upfront, but I'm 37. I didn't feel this way at 25. The people that I'm out with the most are the people that are closest to me. They know all this already. They've seen me sick other places. They've watched me endure all kinds of things. But it's still hard to admit to those people when you're starting to feel sick because you don't want to give into it. And you don't want to admit that, you know what, I might be ruining your good time in about 10 minutes and I can't control it. The pain in my head is so bad I think I might die. I'm sitting in a Broadway theater more times than not, and the sound and the lights, God, the fucking lights, and I just want to die. I've taken every pill in my purse and I don't know what the fuck to do next, and I just want to lay in a hole and die. And we might have to leave, and even if we didn't leave, I'm not having fun. And I think the threat of ruining someone else's good time is almost worse than ruining my own good time, because with me, I know that's always going to happen. But when you feel like you're going to have to take something away from somebody else that's worked hard to get to wherever you are, especially if you're traveling, but you're never going to get to see this again, you came all this way to see this, it's just such a shitty feeling. And I felt it a lot, so I fake it a lot. But when it gets to the point where I'm actually verbalizing, hey, I can't do this shit anymore, I think I'm about to be sick, something is wrong, no, I'm in pain. By the time I say I'm in pain or I think I'm going to be sick, anybody around me needs to see a red flag, a big red fucking flag. I might be surrendering to it. So by the time I'm actually verbalizing it, it's been a long time coming that I've tried to talk myself out of it or think about maybe it will pass or what I could do to stop it from coming. So what you want is the response of, it's okay. It's not okay, actually. It's fucking blows. Who wants to live like that? But you just have to endure it. For me, as a chronic migraine patient with a neurological disorder, I get overstimulated really easily. Not as much anymore, but crowds. I was in Chicago with my mom in 2011. I talked about this a while ago, but we went to the Navy Pier, a beautiful place right on the water of Lake Michigan. But in the food court, it was hundreds of thousands of people, and I was at the height of an attack back then. And I couldn't find her. Like, I could look out on the crowd, and I can't find her because I can't even concentrate on, remember what the fuck it is that she was wearing, and my brain can't focus my eyes to see. A lot of times with really bad migraines, I can't see. Now, people actually go blind temporarily for migraines. That actually has never happened to me. My eyes are working, but it's my brain that's stopping me from concentrating to see, if that makes sense. So I have trouble reading. I have trouble doing almost anything that requires vision, just everything. And from that experience, the fear of if I have to find her fast, I can't. Right? Can't yell in a big crowd, hey, I'm over here. I had a touch of that when I went to the New Kids concert last weekend. I came out of the bathroom. My group had moved over. I came out a different exit of the bathroom. And for a minute, I couldn't find them. And I wasn't having a migraine attack. My eyes were working fine. But it's also that, like, oh, shit. right? Like that momentary panic. And I do the same things that I do when I'm stuck in the bathroom. So I talk to myself. It's okay, you'll figure it out, you'll find them, just go back to the exact same spot you were. If not, you'll start texting or whatever. So now when I'm with my mother or anybody, I try to be upfront. You need to come back to me. I will be here. We separate in Target, the bane of my existence. This is where I will be. You have to come back to point A. Plan. It's just something you have to get better with the practice. But I really, really want the point of this message to be that you need to bring your terror with you. Please don't stay home or miss out on anything or the chance that you can participate in something simply because you're afraid. If you're violently ill and can't leave the house, it's a whole separate story. But if it's just the fear, and I get it, I really do. The fear is almost as intense as the pain, right? Maybe worse so because that panic. But you can't live that way. You're not living that way. So you have to pack your panic and your fear with you. But most importantly, pack your plan and your tools with you also. Be verbal about it. If you're with other people, lean on them. Especially if they're people in your inner circle. I think we tend to, everybody says you take everything out on the people closest to you, but I also think that we don't fully lean on the people closest to us because we don't want to show weakness. And it's not because we don't want to show weakness because we're afraid of being perceived weak. It's because we don't want to show sickness. Not again. But there's strength in that, to be vulnerable to your emotions. And I also always believe in the power of sharing. I feel like once I verbalize that I might be sick or I might be in excruciating pain, it doesn't take it away, but it takes part of that anxiety and that buildup of, oh, fuck me, not now. I'm not in the fucking mood. And then I'm always, because I'm a migraine patient, I'm always going down the list of what it is that I've done to myself that got me to this point. Did I not eat right? Did I eat something shitty? Did I not sleep right? Did I fuck up a pill? I go through the list. Is it going to fucking rain? Why am I feeling this way? And when I run out of those things, then I have to say that it's God's will. And just succumb to it or deal with it. No one wants to deal with it, but you have to. And even if I've done something bad that I shouldn't have done, that I knew took a chance of making me sick, you have to take ownership of that too. But without the berating. The berating serves no one, especially yourself. And you have to pay close attention to what you're saying to yourself because you are the only one listening. And it's a very hard pattern to break, but I encourage you to really try in your depths and your darkest moments. I was never a why me person, but why now? Why this moment? If you have a higher power, pray to them, whatever it takes to get through it. I traveled a lot in my past life, as it were, back and forth to Manhattan. So it was about an hour commute if there was no traffic, and there was always traffic, on a public bus, which had its own share of delights. And I got sick there plenty also. Inconvenient, yes. Unpleasant, yes. And for me, I had to find something else to focus on in those moments to make the lambs stop screaming, as it were. And I would put my old school earbuds in for my iPod and find a song. Like, even though I would be in the depths of migraine pain, which is strange, for me, sometimes loud music and the same song over and over again didn't aggravate me. It calmed me. It's also one of the reasons I like to drive myself to Botox, if you saw that episode now, is because I can play ratchet music really loud and make the car as cold as I want, and that calmed me. Like Beyonce, I would listen to over and over again, or even this one song by Robin Thicke, Good Life. Something about the melody and focusing on the lyrics, just on repeat, really calmed me, or it kept my attention at something else. I'm always looking at the clock and like, okay, if it's whatever time it is now in 15 minutes, if I still feel this way, I'll do this. And just trying not to look at the clock and try to see how fast the time would go, or anything else. Pick a spot on the wall and stare at it. Think of your favorite things. I know I talked about that before. Whatever it's getting through you moment by moment. And before you know it, the anxiety and, God willing, the pain and the sickness has passed or come to a point where you'll get some relief. Because whatever you've done, whatever tools of your trade that you've used has started to work. So when you are leaving your house, physically prepare yourself. Take very good care of yourself on those days. Omit the things that you know will trigger an attack of any kind. And then prepare for the worst and hope for the best. But we have to live. We have to live our life without fear. You don't want those terrorists winning. You have to just go and be not afraid. So, until next time, folks. See you soon.